How you doing, everyone? Noir Tapes back with another video. Today I decided to go back to some of my older roots and do another plugin review. Today I'm covering the Elastique version 2. This particular plugin I use a lot in my day-to-day productions. If I'm trying to pitch shift and I'm not using Ableton's built-in pitch shifting, this is one of my favorite plugins to use for it. The interface is really simple, it works really well, it sounds really nice, and it has an inbuilt delay, which I use sometimes. And the freeze option, which I'll break down later, is really interesting for sound design. So first I'll do a little breakdown of the plugin, and then I'll show you how it works a bit with a couple of samples I've got up the top there. So firstly, you have an option to change the view type from simple to normal to advanced. You have presets up here. I've never used any of these. I believe these are most useful for video files, but I'm really not sure. You have the pitch up here, the P, and you can change it from semitones to percentage. Down here is the timbre. This is related to formants, so for pitch shifting voices, and that's it down here, and you can do the same thing. I'll go down the bottom here first, and then I'll break down this advanced section here. You have the link option. If you unlock it, we'll erase that blue line, which will allow you to move this anywhere you want. As you can see, when I move it up and down, it affects the pitch, and left and right affects the timbre. If you press the lock, it locks the pitch and the timbre. So as you increase one, it increases the other. You can also adjust it with the sidebars. And the last thing down the bottom here, we have the voicing. If you read the little flavor text that pops up, it advises you how you should go about using this. Start in the middle and move to the left or the right, the bass clef on the left and the treble clef on the right. And you change this depending on the dominant audio frequency range. This is only active when they are unlinked over here, otherwise it doesn't do anything. Now this is the advanced section on the right here. Up the top you have input freeze. If you play a sound, I'll show you an example of this later. If you play a sound and you hit freeze, it basically turns it into a pad. It just freezes the first section of audio infinitely, and then you can adjust the pitch if you like. Basically turns any audio you run into it into a pad. Good for sound design. And then next you have a delay. You can pick your different delay time intervals and you can sync it to the BPM in the DAW, or you can change the milliseconds specifically if you'd like. Next is the feedback. This is related to delay. If you know how delay works, you need the feedback. But basically if you have it on 0, nothing's going to happen. If you turn it up to 100%, it will feedback forever. You can set the feedback to change the presence of the delay tail. And then lastly, you have a dry and wet knob, as with any good plugin. Just a couple of things down here as well. You have a help screen. You can view the manual, and the settings doesn't have anything in it. It just tells you what your version is. So for starters, let's play this sample here. First thing to note, the little ball in the middle bounces around depending on the waveform, which is handy to note that audio is incoming into the plugin. I'm going to unlink the pitch and the timbre just to show you how the pitch sounds by itself. So let's play the sample and adjust the pitch. You'll notice as I start to bring it down in particular that there's almost a haunting, ghostly voice that appears at the top end of the audio. The reason that's there is because the formants aren't being shifted. So if I bring this back to 0 and adjust the timbre, you'll hear that this formant's moved. This is mostly useful for pitch shifting samples with singing in them, but it does play a factor in every pitch shift. So often, if you just want to slap it on and adjust the pitch, just link them when they're on 0 and it will sound fine sliding up and down. But if you want to get really creative, you can play around with these specifically and adjust to the sound you like. Anyways, that sounds alright. A sort of melodic sample. Now I have a sample of some voices here, and we'll see how the pitch shifting does with this. When it's locked, you can hear the pitch and the timbre changing at the same time, and it sounds pretty good. You can't really hear any artifacting at all. I'll try to adjust them separately and see how that affects the voices. Not too bad. I prefer to just leave them locked personally. It's simple and pain free, and it sounds pretty good, but if you want to get nitpicky you can. Now I'll show you with this first sample the freeze option. So if I started playing and just hit freeze, we can create a pad straight away. If we want to, we can now adjust the pitch. I could definitely see the usability. Being able to take a sample and create a pad, a unique pad, is pretty cool. Like, you could take that, you could chuck a resampling audio track on, just record a bit of that pad, and then, you know, slap on some effects plugins, and you can get some pretty crazy sounding, eerie pads, you know. I'll also show you the delay in action. So I've got it on 1/4 here. I'll turn this up to like 30. And you should be able to hear it pretty obviously when I shift the pitch up. Maybe I'll bring it down a little bit just to mesh it in. Bring this down to like 3. I don't use the delay too much myself, but I do like how it sounds like it's adding extra notes to a sample. I think it's really interesting. You can sort of hear it once it starts playing. It's delaying that first part of the sample, but it almost sounds like like steps going up. It's really interesting. Definitely some usability there. Just before I finish, I want to do a little pricing comparison between Elastique and some similar plugins. It's kind of hard to compare these plugins when you're not giving examples. Repitching is one of those weird sort of phenomenons where it varies between each plugin. If you're within 3 semitones, all of these plugins probably sound very similar. Even the Ableton stock pitching will sound very similar. They'll all sound very similar. But when you start pushing them outside that 3 barrier is when you see the quality and the difference between these plugins. So it's kind of hard to just say which one's the best. I can tell you from my experience. I'll also say if you're using Ableton, the pitch shifting in Ableton is really good. So you probably don't need to buy any of these. But I came from FL a while ago, so I've got all of these ones that I was using, and FL also has a really good pitch shifting now. So a lot of DAWs come with really good inbuilt pitch shifting. That's nice to have options. This is Elastique Pitch V2 on here. You can see they were running it for 170 USD. So it's a bit expensive. It's got a 4 for value for money, which is really interesting. 4 out of 5. As you heard, it does sound really good and it has a lot of usability. 170, I think I got it for cheaper when I first bought it. Might have come in a deal or something, I'm not sure. I don't think I would have paid 170 for it. But I was on the hunt for pitch shifting plugins. I became obsessed with changing the pitch of samples. So that's that. You heard the examples, so let's compare it to some other ones. Pitch Monster, it's similar in some regards. You can adjust the pitch, you can adjust the formant in a different tab, and you can use a vocoder, which is different. I don't use that at all. I don't really use the formant either, just the granular. You can change the grain size, so when you start to re-pitch and start pushing it up and down, you can go a long way too. You can go up to 24, it must be 36 semitones. But you adjust the grain size accordingly and it removes a lot of artifacting. Unison allows you to basically play multiple pitches at once. So if you turn it up, it adds voices and they can be adjusted with the pitch spread and the time spread to play different pitches at the same time, like a chord. And then you've got a filter down here and you've got a piano that you can play different pitches on. It's pretty good, very good plugin, $108. For the price, I would actually recommend this over Elastique, but you heard the results from Elastique. I'll say it's a lot more consistent than Pitch Monster, but Pitch Monster can achieve the sounds you're looking for. You just got to work with it and know what you're doing with it. Good plugin though, for $108. And the last plugin I want to compare to Elastique is Little Altar Boy. This is probably my least used pitch shifting plugin. I only have these three really, so it's the same price as Pitch Monster, and I'd recommend Pitch Monster over this any day. I have some problems with this plugin when I use it. I find that when you adjust the pitch and the formant, it doesn't sound great compared to some of the other alternatives. You can do like a vocoder robot sort of thing. You can add a bit of saturation here, and obviously you can link the pitch and the formant together, so as you adjust the pitch, adjust the formant, and vice versa, just like with Elastique, or you can unlink them and change them separately. I find that this is the worst sounding pitch shifter that I've used, but I guess I just can't get results with it. I never blame the plugins, you know, it's all about your knowledge. Never blame your tools. So I just need to spend more time with it, I think. Might be better on voices than actual samples as well. But it is a very simple plugin, simple layout, very easy to learn. So I probably just need to put more time in with it. But yeah, I would go Pitch Monster over Little Altar Boy if you're looking for an alternative to Elastique. And that's that. Plugin review done. Thank you for watching, everyone. See you in the next video.